Tonight we begin with a development that Western intelligence officials had been watching closely. Ukrainian military planners were ready for it. The Kremlin had hoped this moment would never arrive. What happened did not unfold over weeks of visible preparation. It unfolded in hours. Hours that reshaped command and control in this war. Hours that exposed one of Vladimir Putin's most protected military secrets. Hours that proved Ukrainian intelligence has reached a level that should frighten everyone inside Moscow's inner circle. What Ukraine did today crossed a line that Russia believed would never be broken. When that line collapsed, the Kremlin had no time to react. Ukraine struck with precision. Ukraine struck with devastating accuracy. And Ukraine sent a message that echoed across every fortified position Russia has built since the war began. They located the bunker, they tracked the bunker, and they destroyed it. For months there had been quiet whispers. Not from official briefings, not from public intelligence reports, just whispers that Vladimir Putin was preparing something unprecedented tied to his personal command structure. Putin has always been paranoid. But his paranoia has followed a system. His security methods have shown a pattern that Western intelligence agencies learned to understand. What triggered alarm in Washington and Kyiv this spring was that the pattern suddenly stopped. When Putin's rhythm goes silent, something explosive usually follows. Analysts who monitor Russian military construction know the warning signs. Sudden movement of specialized engineering units, massive purchases of reinforced concrete beyond normal military needs. Deployment of advanced jamming systems to precise locations. Senior commanders vanishing from familiar posts. Then suddenly, all of it stopped. And silence around Putin is never reassuring. For several weeks, satellite images showed strange activity near a site in occupied territory once considered insignificant. Trucks arrived only at night, equipment was buried, then the location went dark. That darkness was the signal. Was the signal. Ukrainian intelligence, working alongside Western partners, began assembling a picture that would lead to one of the most consequential strikes of this war. Early Tuesday morning, Ukrainian military intelligence detected unusual communication signals. These included encrypted burst transmissions that had not appeared in that region for more than 14 months. These are signals Russia only uses when coordinating actions at the highest level of command, major offensives, strategic repositioning, or direct orders from Vladimir Putin himself. Analysts could not immediately determine which scenario applied. But they understood one thing clearly. Russia had shifted its command posture. When a nuclear-armed power alters its command structure without explanation, even slightly, the entire world pays attention. Over the following hours, intelligence painted a remarkable picture. Ukrainian sources, speaking anonymously to multiple outlets, confirmed they had identified what appeared to be a secondary command bunker, a facility designed to allow Putin and senior military leaders to direct operations if primary command centers were compromised. Blandia, this was not a routine military site. This was insurance against decapitation. This was Putin's backup plan. And Ukraine discovered it. The decision facing Ukrainian military leadership was anything but routine. It was not cautious. It was not incremental. It was bold. Officials later described the target as strategic, time-sensitive, and irreplaceable in the near term. Putin's security doctrine relies on redundancy, multiple layers of protection, multiple fallback systems. But redundancy fails the moment the enemy knows where the backups are located. Ukraine knew. What followed was one of the most precisely coordinated operations of the war. Within 6 hours of confirming the bunker's operational status, Ukraine launched a combined strike. Long-range drones, precision missiles, and specialized munitions designed for hardened underground targets. These were not the same drones used against refineries or supply depots. These were bunker-busting systems reserved for the highest value targets. Tonight, Ukrainian defense officials confirmed coordinated strikes across multiple facilities, including the underground command bunker recently activated for what analysts believe was spring offensive planning. Ukraine struck before Russia could disperse its senior leadership. They hit entrances, they hit ventilation, they hit communication systems prepared to transmit orders to frontline units. In other words, Ukraine struck the nervous system of Russian command in that sector. What made this intelligence breakthrough so extraordinary was the role the bunker played. It was not symbolic. It was fully operational. It was designed to preserve Russian command continuity even under extreme conditions. Ukraine understood that completely and responded with overwhelming force. Not recklessly, not emotionally, but strategically. And they did not waste weapons on secondary targets. They did not warn Russia with preliminary strikes. They focused on the core facility and the infrastructure that made it function, and they acted before Moscow could react. This is where the story deepens. Western intelligence analysts now believe Putin's decision to activate the secondary bunker was meant to test Ukrainian intelligence. After months of speculation about compromised Russian communications, Putin wanted to know whether Ukraine would notice the activation at all. He believed it would remain hidden. Trap. Instead, Ukraine detected it and responded with a strike package so fast and so precise that the Kremlin was caught off guard. Catching Vladimir Putin off guard is rare. Today it happened. Defense analysts speaking anonymously to Western media described the bunker activation as a soft probe, a way to measure whether backup command systems were still invisible. Ukraine answered that question decisively. The strikes were not only accurate, they were timed so perfectly that senior Russian officers who had traveled to the site for inspection were forced to evacuate while under attack. That detail matters. It proves Ukraine has real-time intelligence on Russian command movements. Ukraine is no longer reacting. Ukraine is anticipating. As reports continued throughout the evening, the scale of the operation became clearer. Ukrainian Special Operations Forces carried out diversionary attacks on nearby Russian positions. Russian commanders were forced to choose between defending the bunker or holding the perimeter. Ukrainian air defense units targeted Russian helicopters dispatched for emergency extraction. Ukrainian cyber units operating alongside kinetic forces disrupted communication networks used for crisis coordination. Land, this was not just a missile strike. This was not just an intelligence success. This was integrated warfare. This was combined arms at its most advanced. Combined arms warfare remains the area where Russia has failed again and again since the opening weeks of the invasion. Every time Moscow claims a technological advantage, Ukraine finds a method to counter it. Every time Russia constructs a bunker, Ukraine discovers a path inside. Putin believed his command network was invisible. He believed construction under cover of darkness, powerful jamming systems, and layered security would shield his most sensitive facilities. He believed Ukraine did not possess the intelligence, reach to follow his movements, or track his senior commanders. Tonight, those beliefs have collapsed. MBND Ukraine has shown intelligence penetration at a level that should deeply concern every Russian official with access to classified information. Ukraine has demonstrated the ability to strike hardened targets once thought unreachable. Ukraine has proven there is no bunker deep enough and no structure secure enough to guarantee protection from Ukrainian precision. This moment is especially dangerous because of its timing. Putin's bunker was destroyed while he faces extreme pressure at home. Military hardliners are pushing for escalation. Wealthy elites want negotiations to protect their assets. Nationalists demand territorial expansion regardless of the cost. Pragmatists are searching for an exit that does not look like defeat. Putin is attempting to balance all of these forces while directing a war that has already cost Russia hundreds of thousands of casualties. Leaders in this position do not respond with calm reflection. They respond with wounded pride. They respond with fear. They respond with escalation. Tonight, Western officials released a statement now circulating among NATO allies. It sent a clear signal that the international community will not allow Russia to build command infrastructure it believes to be untouchable in occupied territory. Officials stated that Russia's bunker construction did not align with defensive intentions. In diplomatic terms, this means we knew what you were building and we helped Ukraine expose it. Such direct acknowledgement from Western governments only appears when something truly consequential. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky addressed the nation in a calm and deliberate speech. He said Ukraine will find them wherever they hide. He said no bunker can protect those who wage war against our people. He said today Ukraine proved its intelligence reaches everywhere, even underground. These were not dramatic slogans. These were calculated messages from a wartime leader who understands the weight of today's operation. These words were meant to break the confidence of Russian commanders who believed their facilities were secure. They were meant to reassure the Ukrainian public that their military can strike the heart of Russian command. And they were meant to signal resolve to Ukraine's allies. The situation grows even more concerning when looking beyond the bunker strike itself. This was not an isolated event. Alongside the primary attack, Russian naval forces in the Black Sea reported Ukrainian drone activity following reconnaissance patterns. Russian air defense systems in Crimea detected heightened Ukrainian electronic warfare operations. Russian logistics hubs behind the front lines reported disruptions consistent with cyber interference. All of this unfolded within the same 24-hour window. When Ukraine moves across multiple domains at once, it signals something larger. It suggests a shift toward a more aggressive operational tempo. It suggests the next phase of the war may look very different from what came before. Military analysts are now examining several possibilities. Ukraine may be preparing a renewed offensive and chose to weaken Russian command first. Ukraine may be forcing Russia into defensive positions that limit its own offensive potential. Or Ukraine may be demonstrating to Western partners that continued military support produces real strategic results. What is clear is this: Ukraine removed Putin's insurance policy. They did not ask for permission. They did not signal their intentions. They acted the moment the intelligence picture became clear. They struck decisively. What we are witnessing now is a test of resolve. Putin is watching to see whether this strike weakens Western support for Ukraine. Ukraine is showing that Western weapons combined with Ukrainian intelligence and determination can reach any target. NATO is attempting to prevent escalation while continuing to support Ukrainian operations. Russian military leaders are scrambling to contain further exposure of their vulnerabilities. Every actor in this conflict is watching what happens next. Every actor is calculating, and every actor understands that today's strike has altered the balance. Tonight, intelligence sources report that Russian military communications in the affected sector have shifted to backup protocols. This suggests primary command links were damaged or destroyed. Russian commanders are being moved to secondary facilities, creating movement patterns that could reveal additional targets. Putin's decision to activate the bunker now appears to have been part of a broader command restructuring tied to upcoming summer operations. Ukraine is not slowing down. Ukraine is pressing its advantage. Tadeu's response was fast, precise, and devastating. It sent a message to Moscow that no facility is safe. And it sent a message to Western allies that their support is producing measurable results. As the night continues, more details are expected to emerge about what Putin intended to achieve with his backup command infrastructure. What is already clear is that Ukrainian intelligence executed an operational masterpiece. It exposed Russian weaknesses at the highest level, destroyed months of preparation, and it proved Ukraine can find, fix, and finish targets once believed to be completely hidden. land. What happens next depends on Putin's choices over the next 72 hours. If he de-escalates, this moment may be remembered as a turning point that shattered Moscow's belief in secure infrastructure. If he escalates, Ukraine and its partners have already shown they are ready. Tonight, the Kremlin appears unsettled. Moscow is quiet, too quiet, and when Putin is quiet, it means he is calculating, choosing his next move carefully. Because tonight Vladimir Putin learned a lesson he should have learned long ago. You cannot hide from Ukrainian intelligence. You cannot dig deep enough to escape Ukrainian precision. And you cannot wage a war of conquest against a nation that has proven it will find you wherever you hide. This story is not over, but tonight one truth is undeniable. Ukraine has the intelligence, Ukraine has the capability, and Ukraine has the will to use both. And we will continue watching closely as the next chapter of this conflict unfolds.